What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unplayable, your favorite show about our favorite games. I'm D-House here with Jim, Jay, and Mike. But let me tell you guys, we've got a special guest here. I can't believe we got him. But we've got a TV celebrity. This guy has performed
are we going here?
on the official show called
I thought
Glee.
for sure you'd forget.
Y'all
about
ever
this.
heard Glee? That's
Why
right.
Why didn't you bring this up in the last podcast?
I've been waiting. Guys, Mike, the Rebel Spy, is a TV celebrity from the show Glee.
You forgot.
No, I didn't forget. I've been waiting and saving this. Last week was Father's Day.
Oh my god.
So at this point, the magical powers of editing are going to bring Mike, the Rebel Spy, onto the YouTube of this right now.
No, they're not. No. There are no magical editing tricks.
You guys are going to see
on
Mike
this podcast.
I'll make sure to put the link to the video in the description. So
there
check it out.
Thank you, Jay. Mike, in like 20 seconds, tell the story because now people are wondering if I'm for real.
You're not for real. It's a lie.
Stop.
Right.
No, okay. My brother was in more, but I was in I think 2 episodes of the show playing music in the background. So as basically a glorified extra. I got paid a little bit more than an extra, which was cool. And every year I get a check for like $20. And I really want to tell them to stop sending it to me because I don't want to have to make my accountant do the taxes on it.
And you were on set with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yes, I was in a scene with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah.
Actually. She was very nice. Or at least she was at the time.
Did you put that on your IMDb resume?
Yeah. Great. It's the only thing on my IMDb resume. Yeah.
I was gonna make a skiing joke, but it's too far gone now.
Oh gosh,
there's no one else gets
That's
that
a deep
yet.
cut. That's a deep cut.
It's above my head.
Is this a Gwyneth Paltrow joke that I don't get? Yeah.
she was just like in court for an instant, but it's
Got it.
Let's keep rolling. Let's keep rolling.
Right over my
The
head.
punchline is not worth
the
the story. So anyways, since you came here for games, but you got a little Glee instead, we might as well pivot back into games. And let's talk about our weekend games. What have you guys been playing? And does it rhyme with Schmagic the Schmathering?
I did not play any of that.
Jay,
I did.
Jim.
Yes, I did. But first, I played 4 games of Keyforge this week because I do play games. All 4 against the 1D house, and 3 of them were victories.
Let's go.
So,
is that including the one you just played?
That is including the one I played right before this recording. So 3-1, pretty much a professional. I did beat the top 8 Star Wars Destiny player in Keyforge.
So you're basically saying he's washed.
You get to take his medal now, right? That's how that works.
That's how it works.
You pry out of my cold dead hands.
Take it right from him. But let's see. We also played Magic the Gathering. Played a lot of Sealed today of the new Lord of the Rings set, which was a lot of fun. Went 2-2, so good time. Yeah, it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, I've played a couple games of Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering, Commander, not Sealed or Draft or anything. And the Commander games were actually like a blast. They did the artwork of all the Lord of the Rings characters. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, not as big as Star Wars, but I think Lord of the Rings has had a pretty big impact on my life, equally as much as like Star Wars, because they both came out similar times when the prequels came out, and I was like at that impressionable age of like getting into that kind of stuff. So all the artwork's good. The theme of the abilities is awesome. Like, I mean, for example, Bilbo, if you have like 111 health because he's celebrating his 111th birthday, then you get to do this crazy ability, all that kind of stuff. It's really solid. I enjoy it a lot.
Cool.
Yep. So that's Magic. What else have I been playing? I played a good amount of Star Wars Rivals. That's been really fun. It was learning the rules because there's so many like little things that you wouldn't expect to see in a game like this. But once I got over, like, they have an FAQ on their Discord server, and reading through that helped me with like some of the rule questions that I did have, and it was a blast after we got through some of those like little quirks that you need to figure out. Because some games, like the rule book just like a 1-sheet page, so it's like you can skip over a lot of stuff. Like, they can't cover everything. So getting the minutia of that game rolling, it was solid. I enjoyed it.
Nice. Have you started building your own like teams?
Oh yeah, for sure. Even
Nice.
from our first game, we didn't play with just the
The
starter
with, like,
box
starter
only
deck
has
stuff.
2 characters, and then you have to play a rebel trooper or imperial trooper. We started out with straight out with 3 characters.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
It feels weird to start with like a little like
I know, it's like a little token
cardboard
on the
token.
Yeah, we were a little confused about it when we did it, but there weren't any like packs out when we played, so we didn't.
And it
have
doesn't
another option.
address it in the rule book. It doesn't say like use this instead. I don't think. I didn't see it anywhere.
I don't remember.
I am very curious if like this is gonna be like a game with expansions or not.
Yeah, I have
it
no
is.
idea.
They said this was set 1. Like, this box is considered like a set 1 booster.
Okay.
I'm like mostly confused about like where they expect people to play it, other than just on your kitchen table, which is probably the most likely location.
Yeah, it's fully kitchen table. That is their MO, I feel like.
Yeah.
They're having organized events though. Like they
are,
in their
like,
FAQ, they said they're having like they have an official format for organized events.
But where?
I don't know.
Like, are you going to go to Walmart and play some Star Wars Rivals? Because I'm not.
Hey, I still remember back in the day when they had like
they had
like
Pokemon events at Toys R Us, right?
Yeah. Pokemon events at Toys R Us. The first Pokemon tournament that I won was in the middle of a mall, like literally in the middle like of the mall. Like, it's not in a store. It was. And then I found out I won a free trip to New York City, and I was like, "Wait, what?" And it was just wild. Like, what a weird trip. What's the mall?
Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble. Yeah.
That's true. But it is now 2023, and I don't think Walmart would host an event for Funko. I also think that a local retail store would not host events unless they actually get to sell the product, which I have no idea. Maybe they will, but everybody's already bought them at Walmart, so
yeah. Well,
it's a cool game though. I really enjoy it so far.
Yeah, cool game.
I'm excited to play it at Gen Con with you guys.
Yeah, me too.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, and they're doing a really cool event from what I hear. It's free, and then they give you packs, and you open them, and then you build your team. So it's like basically sealed rivals.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to say. So like playing it, having played it, some of the characters have 6 influence, and then some of them have like 2 influence. So 3PO only has 2 influence, but his cards are absolutely insane. Like some of the best cards in the game, but he only gives you 2 influence. But he only gives you 2 influence. Which
interesting, like team building decisions of like, oh, do I want the best cards, but like a character that's not going to make a big impact.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
it's pretty
that's
cool.
really cool.
It's good. Mike, what about you? What kind of games were you playing this week?
I played a lot of Marvel Snap again, just having fun with the Conquest mode, and sad that Galactus got nerfed because that was a really fun deck for me. I also not sad because I think everybody hated it, including me when I wasn't playing it. So I get it. The new version of it is still fun. And then played some Lorcana with Jay, and we did some videos, and that was a good time.
Yeah.
Yep, I did play some Lorcana with my dad and my brother too.
Oh, and you printed stuff out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, proxies.
Sick.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
This is not gaming related per se, but I have gone down the rabbit hole of Lego Star Wars, and it is deep. It is a very strange world. I've watched probably more Lego Star Wars YouTube videos over the past like 2-3 weeks than I care to admit. And,
wait. When you say Lego Star Wars, you mean like the actual scripted shows, or
no? Like, I don't know, people on YouTube who like talk about Lego Star Wars the same
Okay,
way
yeah.
that we talk about games so like
My-
poorly.
My son loves that. Yeah.
Does he? Okay, yeah. So it's very fun. I have really enjoyed Lego since I was a kid. Obviously, I feel like most people our age are in the same boat. And so my brothers for my birthday got me this BD1 up here, and it was a really sick build, and that kind of just like sparked the newest obsession. So that's what I've been doing, is building some other fun stuff, and getting way too deep into like collectible minifigures and stuff like that. Like there are some that are like thousands of dollars for just a little figures, and it's crazy. So getting sucked into the fun collectability of that.
Yeah, love that. Why?
Yeah.
Okay, after we're done with the Ted Lasso card game, we need to work something out with Lego. You know?
Yeah, I'm
Imagine
actually
a booster
I'm surprised
pack
that
with
hasn't
a
been
Lego
done yet.
Yeah. It's like Star Wars Destiny, but
Like a
instead of the
miniatures
die,
game.
you get like a brick that's tied to a certain
Exactly.
card, and you're
What-
building something.
Exactly. It's so perfect for that kind of thing. Like this is exactly what I was thinking about. It's like, could I come up with some fun like miniatures-esque game with like little Lego minifigures? Because then I don't have to paint anything. I don't have to put anything together. All I have to do is have these little, like have little Luke Skywalker against Darth Vader, and like you move them around some kind of terrain or whatever, and you do stuff. I think that'd be really fun. It seems like a good fit for the IP, but I don't know how it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, that's why
They have the video game too. Like the Lego Star Wars video games are always like super popular.
I
Super
love
fun.
all their content. Yeah, it's actually funny too. Like it's fantastic. So
what about you?
It's messed up that the longest time the best Star Wars video games were Lego Star Wars games.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
You're not
even some
wrong.
people would
For a
still say
long
they're
time.
the best ones, like compared to
They're very fun. They're
the
very
Jedi
fun.
Survivor and stuff. But yeah, like we haven't had any good Star Wars video games, but finally I think we're turning the corner.
yeah.
Yeah. That Star Wars Outlaws game looks sick too.
Yeah.
That trailer looks awesome. All right. What about you, David? What games have you been playing?
Yeah, well, since you mentioned the rivals, I played a bunch of Marvel Battle World with my son. I've mentioned that on here before, but I found out some people in our Discord had never heard of it. But it's like I was playing it thinking about us recording this. I was like, you know what? It's worth a shout out because it has like 4 expansions to it, and the minis are collectible, and it's actually pretty brilliant. It's a cooperative game that you can play solo. And when you buy a battle ball, which it's like its own contained like booster, it's like usually $5 or $10 depending on how old the set is. But you have a fully contained game experience in that one battle ball where you get a random figure, and then you have a hidden one that's in what they call a Thanos stone. The concept is like Thanos captured all the heroes and the villains too in these stones and transported them to Battle World, and you're going in with the heroes to try to free everybody and defeat Thanos.
Sounds fun.
And they come up with like some crazy, like they have crazy heroes in it. For like I was playing Iron Mouse and Venomized Iron Man, and my son, I don't even remember what he was playing, but it was just, we played a lot of it, and it's a great game if you have young kids. I was like, dang, I forgot how good this is. And when we're not playing the game, he plays with the little like minis because they're pretty like strong and like durable. So when he starts crashing them together and banging their heads together, it survives.
Nice.
So yeah, played a lot of that with my son this week. I've been very busy with Shatterpoint. Shout out to my Shatterpoint bro, Mike Rudin. We love Shatterpoint.
I picked up my pre-order. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. So now that I've like done it enough, I texted you guys this. Like, I'm actually really enjoying assembling all the minis. I am not excited to even touch them with paint, and I quite honestly might not touch them with paint at all. But the assembly process is oddly satisfying. It scratches the same itch that scratches when I mow the lawn, and I just look at what I've done, and I was like, dang, that's a great looking lawn. Like I assembled Ventress last night, and I was looking at Ventress. I was like, dang, that's a good looking Ventress right there.
You're like, dang, she's the coolest character in Star Wars.
And then today I assembled Kalani, and it was like the most clunky. Like everything was falling apart, and I was like, "This is stupid. Why I hate this."
Is he in the starter set?
Yeah.
Dang, I'm extra excited. I like Kalani too. He's also a very, very cool character.
Yeah. Kalani's out there, and he plays a unique role in like sending the battle droids, and he has some unique synergy with some of that. So it's not all just like lightsabers and fight combat. Like there's some different ways. Kind of like Jay was saying about C-3PO in the Rivals game, like different kind of role. Mm-hmm. So I've been just assembling Shatterpoint and making sure I understand the rules, because old Jimbo is going to be visiting here next weekend, and I fully plan on forcing him to play it with me for the first time for both of us.
Nice.
Literally just go there so David can play games. Yeah.
So yeah. Other than that, actually, it's still game related. We had a brand new game store open. They had their grand opening on Friday, and I went to that at Fair Game in Geneva, Illinois, and got to talk with the owners. And I came to find out like they were like because they have two other locations in the Chicago area, and they were like the Star Wars Destiny hub of Chicago, where they had like consistently like 10 to 15 players playing all the time. So it was cool to kind of reminisce on Destiny, and got me really excited about the potential future for a little game we call SWU.
The SWU Hub.
That's not what we call it. We call it Galaxy Shuffle.
The age-old argument.
I have seen an uptick in our Discord and on our YouTube channels of people calling it Galaxy Shuffle. And
taking off.
I do also love Galaxy Shuffle.
It's like now I genuinely want like a Max Rebo song called Galaxy Shuffle to like introduce the game.
I'm going to retain the license to call it both.
Yes.
Since Mike, you're our like celebrity rock star, can you write a song called like Galaxy Shuffle? And
I'll have ChatGPT pretend that it's Max Rebo,
and then we'll be inevitably
Galaxy Shuffle.
Do gameplay videos for YouTube. That could be like our intro, like our intro song.
Perfect.
The best part about the name Galaxy Shuffle is that it parallels the stupidity of the actual name they gave it.
That is very
so
like SWU was pretty stupid too, though. So
yeah, but you're calling it that because of the acronym.
That is true. It's slightly less absurd.
Exactly.
That's good. Oh, sorry, my dogs are saying hi. Stop.
He's going nuts.
Yeah, my someone just walked in the front door, so I'm just gonna hold him down.
I bark at people when they walk in my front door.
This is terrible timing. Right as we're trying to hear, I'm gonna mute myself right now.
That's fine. I can talk
y'all
about
keep
Star
going.
Wars
Yeah.
Destiny trash. Star Wars Destiny trash. So we started testing it this weekend. Me, my dad, and my brother. So I posted on the Discord. If you're in the Discord channel, you can see a picture of what I'm storing it in and what it looks like. But it's basically the same concept as Destiny Smash, except I'm making all the characters elite unless it's a single die. And then you build your team up to 30 points with 2 characters. So it's the same concept, except it also allows you to play like a 23 point and a stormtrooper if you wanted to, instead of just 215 costs. Or I guess they had a range of like 14 to 16 that they made the Smash characters from. But it's the same thing. And then the decks are highly thematic. Almost every single card has artwork of the character that's on it in their deck. Nice. So that's how I wanted it to be. And then most of the cards are single in their deck, unless it's something like Shoto. Obviously, Ahsoka's got to have 2 Shotos. Rex has to have his blasters. And of course, Jar Jar has to have a couple of the rolling Boombas. I mean,
absolutely.
He's got
to. So it was really fun, actually. I enjoyed it. I've always wanted to play like Clone Wars, Obi-Wan, and Anakin together. So I got to do that, and I played all the cards like Synchronicity, Caution, and Jedi Armor. It was a blast. My brother played Ahsoka and Rex, which is highly thematic too. So that was cool. And then my dad played characters I've never even played before, which number one, I haven't played the Jedi or the Clone Wars Obi-Wan before. That came in the starter pack or the starter deck. but my dad played the Kylo Ray that go together.
Mhm.
He played that, and that was really cool. I've never seen that in action because I stopped playing that trash before before they released that.
That was one of the last competitive decks I played, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it
was
was
one of
pretty
the
cool.
last things that I remember before I stopped playing. I remember that they released it at Target exclusively, I'm pretty sure. And they, as far as I understand, did not test it very much.
What was that? Was it a starter pack that those characters came in?
It was like a 2-player starter, right?
Or are you thinking of Kylo Phasma?
Yeah,
and
you're thinking Kylo
Poe Rey,
Phasma, Mike.
and
Really?
Poe Rey, the
Yeah.
2-player starter.
That is exactly what I'm thinking of.
that they didn't play test, and they
That is
ended up
exactly what I'm
nerfing
thinking
half
of.
the characters in that 2-player starter deck.
So what are these other Kylo Ray that you're talking about?
Yeah, Kylo's a villain and then Rey's a hero, so it was like the first time they let you play two opposing factions together.
Mm.
I literally have it. I have it sitting right in front of me.
With the plot. Okay.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember this, but I also was not playing while this was a thing.
They seemed really strong. Like,
nice.
I could imagine they were really powerful characters in the meta together because their abilities are kind of insane.
Yeah, I feel like they were like kind of like tier like 1A kind of thing, like not necessarily like taking it over everything, but you could play it and be thematic and be still competitive. So it was, to me, it was that perfect like balance level.
Did you just say tier 1A?
Yeah, whatever that means, or 1B, whatever.
Whatever
like
that means.
top tier. And it's like just under it, not quite there.
Like tier 1.5.
It's like a bullet point. Yeah, like,
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's like not S tier, but it's not A tier. It's just kind of hovering in the middle.
Okay.
I just said 1A because I'm a big dingus, and that's okay.
I was just trying to translate. I'm like, I actually don't know what that means, but yeah,
I feel like we got there at the end.
we did. We nailed it.
Destiny Trash was a success either way.
It's good.
Sweet.
It's good.
Are you going to bring it to
All right,
Gen Con?
y'all.
I would love to, but you can imagine how much that case weighs.
Yes, that would not be fun taking through security.
Half decks.
Fair.
Yeah. So I'm not bringing.
All right. Well, we'll have to build them on TTS or something so we can play.
Sure.
It's good. All right. We got some news to go through, people. We got some Galaxy Shuffle Swoo spoilers from the YouTube content creator Wasi Plays. Dropped some stuff. Are you guys very familiar with his content?
I used to watch his Pokemon stuff back in the day. He has like a Pokemon, I think it's PTCG radio or something. And when I was playing Pokemon for about 2 months in like 2018, I watched a few videos. So it was a very distinctive like intro. So I always remember that.
He did a lot early Keyforge as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Keyforge. My familiarity with him is YouTube's algorithm putting his thumbnails in my feed, and then I just have never clicked on it.
Well, he got some spoilers. He got 2 spoilers, and as I present this, let me clarify one thing we know is we're recording this on a Sunday. We release on Tuesdays, and on Tuesday, Fantasy Flight has a live stream where they're going to be talking about probably this game. And I think another content creator, Space Arena, Ground Arena Saga podcast, said they basically have some spoilers that they'll release that day too. So in like 4 hours after this post, you're going to be like, oh, there's some new news and whatever. But you're required to listen to us before you listen to any of that first.
Oh, well, they'll probably watch the FFG video before they'll watch this podcast. So
no, Mike, no. Come on, man.
Let us
if
know.
I
in the
know
comments.
anything, everybody that sees a podcast from us drops immediately
instantly
stops whatever they're
everything
doing and
That's it.
listens.
So we got some spoilers. First up, we've got the Cloud City Wing Guard, cost 3. It is a blue unit, not hero or villain, just blue. It's got 2 strength, 4 health with Sentinel, which, as a reminder, Sentinel says units in this arena can't attack your non-Sentinel units or your base. So blue deck, all kinds of blue decks can play this, and you kind of throw them out there and say you got to kill this guy first.
Mhm.
And it's a common.
Yeah, I was about to say he's a common, and he's number 63 out of 252. Is that what it says? Or is it 53? I can't tell.
63.
63. Nice. What is fringe, by the way? What does that mean? Like an outer rim?
Oh, his
Maybe.
subtext title?
Yeah, it must be like characters on the fringe, I guess. I don't know.
Fodder in the war is what I'm saying.
I like Sentinel. Sentinel
Yeah,
seems good.
Sentinel's like just, as far as I can tell, it's just taunt and Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like a vanilla 2/4 taunt for 3 mana. And I mean, the game's different from Hearthstone, but
Mana. Oh, where's my bread?
well,
Resources.
I'm talking about Hearthstone. So
Okay.
they do use mana in that game.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems fine. Maybe it's good.
yeah.
Maybe it's bad. I don't know.
So one
Very
thing we
simple
can do
card.
is we can compare this to Lorcana, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You
The
can
bodyguard.
assume that they will play similar. They have similar aspects to them, so like I think comparing them is probably fine. So if you look at like Hercules, who is basically bodyguard, sentinel, same thing, right? He's a 3/3 and this is a 2/4, so you're getting about the same stats. Would you rather have a 3/3 or a 2/4? I don't know. What do you think?
2/4 for me.
Yeah, probably 2/4 actually.
You'd rather have the 2/4?
I think so. I think if you want to be defensive,
If
having
that's what
more
the
of the
whole thing
defensive
is,
stat
right? Like
is pretty
bodyguard.
good. But there's a limiting factor there where it's like it has to have enough attack for it to be relevant as like something that you don't want to attack into. Like the best taunt units or sentinel units are going to be the units that your opponent doesn't even want to attack into.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So like Donald is a 3/2. This would be really good, like trade for Donald because he would die and
Donald's
you
a
would
2/3.
still.
Yeah, he's a 2/3.
Oh, okay, interesting. Either way, they still have.
That's
would
also
trade
Disney
after
World
2.
canon.
Yeah, no, I'm just.
I can't
saying,
wait
like,
to smash these two games together.
If there were comparable stat lines of cards in Star Wars Unlimited, right? So I don't know. I guess we'll see. What is Mickey? Mickey's a 2/6, right? But he costs 6 for bodyguard. That's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he has the other ability too, and then you have the lower value that factors into the cost as well.
Yeah, this one's not even inkable. So what do you do with that?
Okay, my brain's starting to hurt, you guys.
I do really like. I like the templating a lot, where the Sentinel is like in that sort of like highlighted background area. Like, it's something that you're not going to want to forget as a player, and so this makes it so that you're probably not going to forget.
Yep.
And I often forget.
Yeah, I'd also say this is a card I think that probably has higher value in limited settings in draft and sealed because it can be played both hero and villain, and just when in constructed you can build your deck in certain ways, like I don't know, to accelerate or like protect yourself, but like dropping one of these guys down when you're like, hey, you can't attack my base, give me a moment to build toward my thing, and you got to deal with this pesky little thing. Feels pretty good. It's also interesting too, like I think, and this is where we'll have to learn how it all works, but like the space arena and the ground arena being separate, and like the sentinel only protects in the specific arena, it's like how you balance both sides is going to be really intriguing.
Yeah.
I think it can help too, right? So like if you have drawn nothing but space units this turn, but then you get this guy, it helps protect from the ground where your opponent might have like 5 ground units and there's nothing you can, like you're not able to keep up, but this helps keep them from being able to just go face. All right,
next one.
Enough time on a pretty vanilla card.
That's true.
All right, next up we've got
here's your 2-cost 3/2.
Here's my 3/2 I was talking about.
It's not popping up for me. Someone want to read it?
Yeah. It's a 2-cost Viper Probe droid. It's a villain card. There's no like additional aspect to it. It's a 3/2 Imperial Droid. When played, look at an opponent's hand. Common, 228 out of 252. Yeah,
That's funny.
Seems
Wow,
fine.
it took me until Jim laughed to get that. I was like, what is he doing?
Why did that get me?
Got him.
I mean, that still feels
Quality
more.
Audio.
That feels almost more beneficial than like actually looking at. I don't know. I never enjoy effects like this. If it doesn't do anything,
Yeah,
it's just like, yep, those are cards.
I agree. I think information is overrated generally, unless you
Mhm.
have a way to capitalize on that information outside of just like being able to outplay your opponent. Because if, in theory, like if you're good enough, you already kind of know what's in your opponent's hand, right? Like if you've played the game enough, you know what's in your opponent's deck. You know the things that you need to watch out for. You know the things you need to play around. Maybe occasionally this gets you a win where you're like, oh, I'm playing around this one card, and you find out that they don't have it, and then you can kind of like go for a greedy play that you wouldn't have been able to go for otherwise. But generally, I think it's overrated. That said, a 2-cost 3/2 is probably an okay stat line on its own, and this is, you know, not locked into any particular aspect other than villain. So I think, David, your sort of point about the previous one where it's like better in draft and sealed, this is probably a candidate for being like decent in draft and sealed.
Yeah. I mean, you dropped this turn 1, and then
is that thunder at your house?
It's mine.
Jim's house.
That's crazy. Sorry, I derailed us here, but it doesn't thunder like that here, so it's exciting.
California. Yeah, I mean, you can drop this literally the first action of the game if you're going first. And then if you're claiming initiative, you're threatening 3 damage into whatever either they dropped or right into the base, even without the plate effect in any villain deck in sealed or limited. So this screams. I have a feeling that FFG is slowly spoiling all the cards that we're going to see in the decks at Gen Con when we're getting demos. So this feels like a good starter deck kind of card where it's like, hey, here's, you know, moderate value for, you know, what they're going to do. So probably doesn't make the cut in constructed.
The fact that we're getting reveals and like content creator reveals is cool, but the timing feels very strange to me, where like this game is not releasing in theory for at least 6 months, if it is 2024, which they've said it is. Like,
and in theory, we don't even know what this looks like in the space of the rules of the game. I mean, in theory, right?
Yeah. Like FFG hasn't acknowledged the rules leak, right? So in their mind, like nobody knows how to play yet, but all these cards are getting revealed anyway. I guess Lorcana did that for a little bit, but it wasn't like content creator spoilers. It was like the same thing that FFG is doing, where they're just like showing random cards on Twitter, which makes a little bit more sense to me than content creator spoilers. The reason why like content creator spoilers specifically doesn't make as much sense is, one, like I have to imagine that they don't want the content creators that they're giving these like spoilers to talk about the leaked rules. Right. I don't know if that's true or not. In the video that Wasi posted, he did not talk about those specific rules. So I have to imagine that maybe it was like, yeah, you can reveal these, but don't talk about them in the context of the leaked rules that happen. The other thing is just the like 6 months out just feels like a really long time for like content creator sort of audience building, I guess. Like if your goal as a content creator is to get people to like hear about your show because they're already sort of in this Star Wars Unlimited community, like there isn't really a Star Wars Unlimited community yet. So I feel like closer to the launch of the game, when people are more excited about it and it's like more imminent, is a more strategic time to actually reveal these as a content creator.
Well, do you think that this is them showing their hand that the game's going to come out sooner than they said?
I don't know. That'd be interesting if they're like, hey, our boats arrived faster than we thought they would, and this is coming out in Q4 2023. Or you could
What
buy
a
starter
dream
decks at Gen
scenario.
Con. Like that would be pretty interesting. I don't know if it would be good for the game, but I think it would definitely be interesting.
I think it would
I
be
don't
fine
want that.
because it's not the whole it's not the whole set. It's just the starter decks. I mean, we're going to be playing it on TTS anyway as soon as Gen Con
That's
hits.
true. That's true. We definitely.
I don't know. I don't. Does it really do the game any help if they sell starter decks at Gen Con? To me,
it probably
it's like,
doesn't.
Ah,
It probably doesn't. Like we're gonna play regardless, right? But
yeah,
like, how satisfied are you with playing with just starter decks for 4 months before, at least 4 months before the real game comes out?
Not very.
Yeah.
Like you probably play with starter decks for like 3 weeks and then get bored.
Yeah.
But maybe
there's only so many ways you can mix those
know.
cards together and come up with something new.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I could go on forever about this. I always like talking about like strategy in
it's
just like
almost like
meta
it's your
business
job or
strategy.
something.
Yeah, it's so weird that
Wow.
might be the case.
I just there's just like the fact that it's called Unlimited and our podcast is called Unplayable. Like I just
There's
I
something
feel
there.
like we deserve spoilers. I don't know.
They have to be unplayable though, right?
Yeah. They have to let us spoil the absolute worst cards in the set.
That would be funny.
Oh, that's good.
So I didn't even mention anything about this card, but I would say this is a theme first card. Looking at this, they designed this theme first, not mechanics first. I also think looking at an opponent's hand is significantly worse in this game than pretty much any other game because you're drawing 2 cards at the end of the round, and then you're also putting a card into resources, so you're cycling your card so fast you don't even know if what you saw is going to be there in like 1 round.
For sure. Yeah, they could literally resource it like the turn after, and then it's like, oh,
right,
it's gone. Yeah. Lastly, because we always got to bring it up, the art is pretty cool on both of these cards.
Yeah,
I like the probe droid better than the other one, but the other one's still pretty fun. I like his little suit thing.
the little suit thing.
Yeah, I think
I'd rock that jacket.
On Glee, even.
Playing
definitely.
Yeah, and any art that inspired from like a Hoth setting is gonna get my attention. Like
that's not
awesome.
Hoth.
No,
you're talking about
you're talking about Probe Droid.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like Cloud City.
We were looking at
definitely
the Cloud City.
Hoth.
Okay, I'm aware.
Cloud City's Cloud City.
Okay. Okay, you guys want to move into our main topic?
Probably not.
We should do one of those this week.
He said probably not.
I can continue. I can ramp. I can vamp us, dude. If we want to just talk for another
30 minutes on Viper Probe Droid. Let's go.
Okay. So we sort of ended up. This is how most of our topics develop. Is we start talking about something in our like text thread, and we start arguing about something. And inevitably, someone says, "All right, shut up and let's talk about it on the podcast."
Usually you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually, like, let's save it. Okay, just all right. Because I hate texting in general. I'd rather just talk about it. So we ended up in this rabbit hole of like with Lorcana coming out, Star Wars Unlimited, and this whole idea of like all these CCGs, TCGs coming out again. Of basically this one question: what is the ideal cost of a competitive deck? So we're not talking like if you're just playing casually, whatever. I think that's a different conversation because that could be any sort of things. But when we're talking about competitive environments, what is the ideal cost of a competitive deck? I don't remember what spurred this on. We were probably talking about selling Flesh and Blood cards for all I know.
I think it was maybe we were talking about Lorcana, I think.
Yeah,
and we were
Beast
talking
just
about,
dropped and he was a legendary.
That's exactly what it was. Yep.
Okay.
And we were talking about how like some of the legendaries to me felt a little bit lackluster. You talked about Gantu. I think Beast is fine, but he doesn't necessarily scream legendary to me. And then we sort of got down the rabbit hole of like, oh, well, if you need 4 copies of like if all the best cards are legendaries, you need 4 copies of each. Decks are just gonna be crazy expensive. And then it's just like the question of, okay, well, what is like the ideal cost for a competitive deck? And this is sort of like from a publisher point of view and from like a health of a competitive game point of view, not every deck should be free because I should be able to play everything for free kind of point of view, which is, I mean, that's valid, whatever. And then I think we pulled sort of data, not ourselves, but like we found a post of sort of cost of the top decks in various card games. So David, do you have that?
Yes,
handy?
I do.
Came prepared.
So
Let's go.
yes. Yeah. So this comes from let's see. The official like Twitter handle is Deck Flare, FLARE. And so Deck Flare made the video. I didn't watch the whole video, but there's a snap like a screenshot they took and basically looked at how much it costs to get into the top 5 decks in the format for each of these things. So maybe and this is I don't know if it counts shared cards across multiple decks or if it's individual, like in Flesh and Blood, if like you need a Spring Tunic for each of the 5 decks, obviously it's going to go up. But it was very interesting to see the prices. What would be most helpful for the auditory?
I mean, I'll have the thing up in the video. So
okay,
audio wise, I would just go through and just
okay,
make sure it's clear.
Game.
So again, we're talking about the total cost of the 5 most competitive, like the top 5 decks
at whatever time that this was sort of taken.
Right. So this was May 16th when this was tweeted. So it wasn't that too long ago in 2023. But at number 1 is Flesh and Blood at $2,172.
Yep.
So that's
5 Spring Tunics.
5 decks. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's an aggregate cost of the 5 decks. I see.
Yes. Like if you were to go out and buy singles.
Yeah.
Apparently,
I don't know if it includes like 1 Spring Tunic for all 5 decks.
Okay.
So.
I think we'll have to do the math ourselves after this.
Yeah.
To determine.
At number 2 is a game called Card Fight Vanguard, which I don't even know what that is.
It's like a Japanese card game.
It's been out for a while.
$2,044.
Wow. That's expensive.
Yeah. Like, especially for a game. I've obviously heard of Flesh and Blood, and that's very public. But maybe this is just not an American thing. I don't know.
No,
I think
it
it's
is.
I think it's bigger than Fab. But you're just not a weeb. So
yeah.
I guess so. I cannot wait for the comments in this YouTube video. If they're
you'll never talk about this game.
if they're as good as the comments we were getting today on YouTube, let me tell you.
I put Vanguard in the category of like people that play Yu-Gi-Oh or any other anime style game.
Yep. So speaking of Yu-Gi-Oh's number 3 at $1,800, Dragon Ball Z $1,647. And then Magic's number 5 at $1,263. So that rounds out the top 5.
So 5 Magic decks are $1,263. So Jay, do the math for me real quick.
That's like 200 something.
240.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem that crazy to me.
No.
So that's
and then I also was curious, did a little bit of research as well, and Pokemon has an average deck cost of like $60.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
It's because of the way they do it is all the expensive cards are like the alt arts.
Yeah, they're alternate stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so Pokemon is number 10 on this list at $343, but that's for 5 decks. So that math checks out.
Did it say if it was for standard for Magic or modern? Because that does actually make a pretty big difference.
It would definitely be modern or standard.
Yeah, probably standard. Modern would be way more expensive than that, I think.
Yeah,
what's the difference?
Modern
standard's
is
the
like
last 2
everything
years.
with the new border. Yeah, standard's last 2 years.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So that just sort of like gets the conversation going. What are your reactions to Fab being $2,172 for 5 decks, Pokemon being $343 for 5 top decks?
I mean, it's a big difference. It's so interesting because Pokemon on like one end of the spectrum, they probably sell more packs. I mean, than anybody other than Magic, right? Like but most people don't play the game. Is the thing. Like most people that play that game are collectors. or who buy the packs are collectors, almost everybody who plays Flesh and Blood or who buys Flesh and Blood packs is probably a competitive player. And far fewer packs are opened. So I think the supply is a lot lower, which means that the demand for each of those legendary cards, whatever that you need for your decks, are more valuable, basically.
I think there's a lot more that goes into it too, simply based on the design of the game. So as someone who has probably 5 decks that I've bought over the course of the game to like be able to play 5 different characters, I can confirm it's expensive. But because of the way the game is designed, you can only play cards of that class. Basically, there's not nearly as much crossover between one class and another class as there would be in Magic, where you play black white or you play black red. Like half your deck could be the same between the two, technically, right? So I think there's way more crossover in games like Magic or Pokemon in terms of cards that are going to be in those decks. If you did the statistics of how many unique cards are present in the 5 decks, I would bet Flesh and Blood has the most unique cards.
Yeah, I believe that. One other aspect of this is like, let's say you play the game for a year and then you're done and you want to sell your stuff. If you bought your 5 Flesh and Blood decks for like $2,100 or whatever, however much it was, and a year later you could go and sell all the cards that you got for like $2,400. Now all of a sudden you didn't pay any money, but you made a profit while you did this. So like it does create a higher barrier to entry in terms of like who can afford to get into the game, but it also allows you to essentially play for free for that amount of time. I think, there's a lot of people in Magic do this, right? Where like they rent a deck or they, buy a deck, play with it a little bit, and sell the deck. I used to do that when I played Magic. So I think that's like one thing that's missing from this conversation a lot of the time, where it's like, okay, yes, the deck is like $2,000 or whatever. I mean, the one deck isn't $2,000. But yes, the deck is like $500, but you can just as easily go and get that $500 back pretty much whenever you want. And the nice thing about Flesh and Blood specifically is that those cards generally don't rotate out and sometimes they get banned, but like the odds of you being able to turn around and sell that deck for what you paid for it is fairly high.
And the cards that they hit in terms of errata bans and stuff, they do a really good job of not hitting like legendaries or majestics. If they're going to nerf
and
a
those
character,
are the money cards.
Because of the way that it's siloed out, they can hit other cards for that character without having to hit the expensive cards to like bring that character's power level down, which is interesting. But I'm not gonna lie, Flesh and Blood's an expensive game. Like obviously it is. I mean, that's just how it is. I don't know why people. I don't know the economics behind it, but they have done something very strategic in terms of like keeping collectors interested, being able to keep competitive players buying more and spending that much money on decks. It's interesting.
They like Flesh and Blood is really, really interesting to me because they are almost 100% focused on like the hyper competitive player, but they've managed to at the same time, like entice collectors to sort of keep these prices high, which is I'm arguably good for the game. I think it creates a lot of good it creates perceived value, right? So if you like if a tunic was $20 instead of like $200, the perceived value is that, this card that's a legendary that's in a bunch of these different decks that's like really rare is not valued, and people like would look at that, I think, and think that it's like a bad game or that it's like a lower tiered, lower quality game. Whereas they look and they see this card that has that value that everybody wants and it's high. And then you look at it and you're like, oh, this must be a very high quality game. Like that people
Yeah.
are willing to pay this much to play this game. It must be that good. So there's an element to that, I think, that doesn't really get talked about that much.
I think I agree with that. Which kind of leads into something else we talked about, and like that's legendaries in general, right? So how good should legendaries be, as they're the most expensive cards that you're gonna have to pay for in any game? Well, in Magic it's Majestics, I guess, or Mythics, and Flesh and Blood, and Destiny it was legendary.
Yeah. This is probably where I have more opinions, because I mean, just using Flesh and Blood as an example, when I was getting into it, I just like, okay, I just got to pick a hero, go with it. Got Lexi, and then New Horizon was like, okay, you need this card in order to like compete with this. And New Horizon itself was, I don't remember how much it was at the time.
Probably somewhere around 150 to 200.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think 150 is what I was thinking. So, just the idea,
and Ranger doesn't have a chest piece, so you have to run Tunic. So that's
$200. So it was literally like, oh my gosh, like the idea of paying that much for one card to be competitive.
But you only had to buy one. They don't go in your deck.
Well, I had to get a Tunic too.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Is you don't have to buy 3 copies of it. Their legendaries are single. They're all equipment, so you only have to buy one.
It just, for me as a player, it violated a boundary. Like, I just couldn't pay that much money for one card. Outside of like buying a box of like boosters, I don't think
it's just a normal card too. It's not like you're buying like a foiled out like cold foil first edition of this card.
Right.
Just the normal version.
If you were trying to buy a cold foiled Tunic, you're spending way more than a couple $100.
Right.
It's about at least the total cost of the 5 best decks.
Yeah. So that's where my brain started going. Like, I hate that me not, like, I can't even say that. I don't know. I've been trying to figure this out for a long time, but it was just like, I can't justify on one card paying that much money. So in my mind, for a competitive game, for you to feel like you can show up to a competitive event and have to spend that much on a single card, to me, and I'm a competitive player and I can't do that, feels like that's too much. But for an entire deck, $150, like, that makes, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I could probably get there to say like, okay, to be at least compete for the top tables, to spend that. Like, yeah, I could probably, because I usually for a TCG, I buy at least one booster box, maybe 2, because I know I can get a lot of value out of it. But I don't know.
What's the highest amount of money that you'd pay for like a good legendary? Like Star Wars Destiny, I remember like ancient lightsabers were I don't know, $60 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, did that feel
too
bad to pay $60 for that card?
And you need 2.
I think you only need
Destiny.
2. Yeah.
Yeah. Destiny, you needed 2. So would you pay $120 for 2 ancient lightsabers?
I don't think I would, but I would try to find a different deck.
Did you have 2 ancient lightsabers?
I did, and I don't remember ever I think I pulled them,
you
honestly.
Pulled them.
Which, yeah, maybe that's, I don't know. I don't know if that's hypocritical because I spent $100 on a booster box or something, you know. So, but I got all the rest of this stuff too. So
sure.
Which, so the spring tunic that I own in Flesh and Blood was for my birthday. You know, my family got me a history box, and that's where I got the spring tunic from.
And it came out in that. It came in that. Nice.
Yeah.
So like, knowing that you like that, I don't remember what the equipment that you mentioned was, but the Ranger equipment.
Yeah,
like,
New Horizon.
Like New Horizon now, like how much is it worth now? Is it around the same price?
You're asking the wrong person.
Yeah, it's still pretty high, but it's funny because Flesh and Blood is so meta dependent for what the value of cards are, that it's like, so that's a Ranger card. So when the best Ranger kind of cycles out, or they have like a living legend system of, it did so well, so now that hero kind of gets like off in the sunset kind of idea. So when that happens, the value of those cards go way down.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean you're never going to get another Ranger. So it's
Right.
like you can time those cycles pretty well to get it when it's
But
pretty
I would
dirt cheap.
also argue that we have seen when heroes living legend, their equipment goes up. Their legendaries go up in price.
Oh,
I don't know
disagree.
why, but that has happened. Like when Prism when Prism LL'd, the footsteps went up like $60.
I think it was also with the Dusk Till Dawn like coming out pretty soon, and a lot of people were wanting to switch over to Dromai. The New Horizon card is 190 right now. Just looked it up.
So if you
That's
did
'cause
yeah, for
Rangers-
that card, David,
Jeez.
you'd be up $40 right now.
Yeah,
like
no,
like
you're right.
does
You're
that
right.
change it for you though? Like do you
Gosh.
do you even like does that factor into your decision making at all?
It should. I'll admit it should.
I'm not saying it should or it shouldn't. I'm just curious. Like,
well,
what your
like I mean,
mindset is.
even no, but because you said because like a couple times you've mentioned like, oh, you're in some ways you're like you're definitely going to get that back, but it's like okay, that requires you, taking good care of these cards, like making sure they're like, especially some of these cards, depending on what you're talking about, it has to get graded. Which maybe that's pretty rare, but
I think that's sort of I would argue that's like a separate sort of scenario.
But then it's like, and then listing and finding buyer, like there's a
time cost in there.
Yeah, there's a time cost to some of that stuff that I've really not enjoyed when I've done it. Jim has been a great help when we lived in the same city. He would sell stuff for me all the time because he seemed to just find the people and be able to do it really well. So, but I don't know. That is a unique thing to me where I agree in theory. Like I remember the last Gen Con I went to, I played in the inaugural Legend of the Five Rings event. It's the only L5R event I ever played, but I was one of the top rated players in the Unicorn clan. So I got this spot glass base that I immediately flipped for $350 on eBay.
I remember that.
Like that day, and it was like, wow, that just paid for Gen Con. Like it was so I do love that opportunity is there, and that there's probably an argument there of why I need to maybe have that mentality when it comes to competitive games, because maybe
I honestly I don't really take that into account when I buy cards because I know that I'm not going to sell them.
Me either.
Because I just don't have the time and or like
it's too much work.
Like it's too much. If I have somebody else like if Jim came over to my house and sold all my cards for me, that would be great. But Jim's probably I'll fly you over here. But yeah, like I don't have Jim at my fingertips all the time to sell my cards for me.
Well, so. Now I moved to a different state, so I don't either.
So I mean I'm in the same boat. Like, I don't really
weekend?
take it into account.
To work.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean it's nice to know that the value's there if you ever wanted to get out of it, but I tend to not sell stuff that I buy.
So one of the things they mentioned in the video that FFG did about Star Wars Unlimited is that they want the collectability to be not in, how did they word it? It was basically it was like the really rare cards that are going to be pricey are just going to be like more alt art foil type.
They're going like the
something.
Pokemon route where it's
right.
like, Darth Vader's really good or something like that. And everybody wants Darth Vader, but the normal Darth Vader is like reasonable because we put them in enough packs to where it's reasonable. But the ultra foil, triple shiny Vader, whatever alt art is only in every like 5,000 packs. And that's going to be the rare thing.
Yeah.
So I do like that model.
Yeah.
I think that's also worked well for Flesh and Blood, honestly.
Cold foils, alt arts.
But I think that's probably like Pokemon and Flesh and Blood seem to be too competitive-ish when it comes to Pokemon, but two card games that sort of have that model where it's like the normal versions of most cards. Flesh and Blood is different because they have legendaries that are like weird and rare and expensive, but most cards are very reasonably priced. And then the Marvel version of it or like the alt art version of it are the expensive ones, and I think that's worked out well for both of those games. And so I think a lot of games that are coming out are copying that. I don't know if Lorcana is going to copy that, though, because we haven't really heard anything about that. We haven't heard if they're going to do alternate art cards in packs at all. I'd be kind of surprised if they don't, because it seems to be appealing to the same audience as Pokemon, or a similar audience. So I would be really surprised if they don't have that. I certainly would suggest that they do have that if like I were a consultant for them, which I am certainly not. But
it would be
yeah,
a huge
I don't know
miss if they didn't do it.
Yeah,
How sick would it be if we started opening packs at Gen Con and we opened like alt art that no one's ever seen before?
That would be very cool. I would love that. I would love if they're just like keeping that really close to the chest, and then like that is going to happen.
That would be sweet.
If it doesn't, though, I feel like it's kind of like it means that the legendaries that you open are the most exciting things that exist to open. And just going full circle. And when they're bad, like when they're Gantu, it makes it kind of a bummer for that to be the legendary that you open. And I think the feeling of opening a bad legendary is worse than the feeling of like not opening one at all, because like people remember negative experiences like 10 times more than positive experiences. And like not opening a legendary is not really a negative experience. It's kind of just like a neutral experience. But opening a legendary that is like actively a disappointment is a negative experience.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much, for Lorcana specifically, I don't know how much the competitive viability of the card is going to be a factor in how much people want it. Because if people are just wanting to collect Disney cards with cool art on them, then like maybe people don't actually care. But I think for Star Wars Unlimited, you're probably going to get more people who are into it for the competitive card game side than just because they're into Star Wars. There's a bunch of other things for Star Wars fans to collect. There's a lot of other things for Disney fans to collect, but there's a lot of other Star Wars game related things for Star Wars fans, and even trading card related things for Star Wars fans to collect if they're just into that thing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And I do hope that the alt arts and like alternate treatments in Star Wars are like insane.
Yeah. All right, so, give me your bottom line. What's your number for your ideal?
I'm not done. I got like 10 more things to mention.
All right, I'm gonna go do my laundry. I'll be right back.
So we haven't even talked about Keyforge.
Man,
the most expensive one deck.
That's
Keyforge was like
Keyforge is a really good analogy here. Yeah. Because it's a full deck.
It's just a $10 pack, a $10 deck, right? So you can spend $10 and get one of the most competitive decks. But you can also
with inflation, it's up to $12.99. But yeah,
you're right. You can also spend over $3,000 to get Pink Fraud or whatever it is.
Yep.
So how much did you spend on that deck you went in with Jim on? How much was that?
We each paid $33. We paid $100 total.
Oh, that's not very much.
No, it's not.
but it's not going to win worlds. It's going to do cool things, and everybody in the Keyforge community knows this deck because it is one of the most creative, unique things. But yeah, we could sell it. We've had offers of like $400 or $500. I remember we've had a few of those because it is that way. But I don't think it's for the competitive side as much as it's yeah. So but yeah, so I mean, with Keyforge, I mean, two guys split that deck, that $3,600 thing, so it's $1,800 each. I mean, that's just like, that's insanity to me. But also, I know Keyforge is starting to do cash tournaments this year. It's like, you do have opportunity to win some of that.
This goes back to us renting out really sick Keyforge decks.
Yeah.
And Jim shaking his head while we do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that one deck is more than 5 competitive decks in any other CCG.
Except for Flesh and Blood. Oh, no, it is more than that. It is more than Flesh and Blood, too.
But I also think it's a little bit of an anomaly because I've never seen another Keyforge deck reach that. Even 4 digits, like
they're unique though.
Yeah,
the Keyforge deck. So I would expect Keyforge to be the highest dollar value for like the most competitive deck. It should be the highest because that is the only one that exists.
Right.
Which is very
Makes sense.
Cool and interesting, actually.
And what's even more cool about it is it's going to come from a $12 deck. So like every deck starts out only being $12. Even if you sell it for $1,000, right? You could technically say the top 5 decks are only $25 or no, $50, $60.
Yep.
Technically, right? Like I don't know. It's weird. Also, I was going to point out when I didn't get a chance to say it, but Flesh and Blood does gold foils for tournaments, which is like something unique that I haven't seen other games do, where it's like the same card, legendary, and most of them are. I guess they do several. They do Majestics and it's just equipment really, but they do like gold foil versions that they give, but they're in packs. Like you don't know which one you're getting. So like when you get a tournament, you get a pack that has a gold foil of something in it, and you can unseal it and open it and see what it is, or you can sell it blind and see. It's kind of like another layer of collectability that they have added to the game, which is kind of cool.
It's very smart. For the audio listeners, the video listeners saw him leave, but we lost Jim to the storm. So
he
I think we're almost done anyway.
Yep. Give me. I wish I could have caught it before. So give me your number. What's your?
Well, he's gonna say like $20. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not gonna say $20. I want to know. I have my number
for a competitive
deck in a game that you're.
Deck.
Yeah.
Like what you would want it to cost.
What is your ideal?
Like what do you think is a price where it's like you would pay it, but you think it's like healthy for the game for it to be that price point?
Yeah.
And we're talking about like just base versions of the cards, not holographic or
It's whatever you pop on TCG Player and buy.
It's kind of weird because Flesh and Blood, their legendaries at first are always foil no matter what, and then if they ever reprint them, then they're not in foil, which is like a whole nother layer.
Let's make this simpler. Like what? Let's talk specifically about Lorcana and Star Wars Unlimited. Let's say like those are the games that we're trying to price decks for. Because they're both fairly similar.
You have to have 4 copies of, and that's
you do in Lorcana, and that's probably why they did that.
Why do I have to go first? You go first.
I'll go first. I feel like 200, 250 maybe is like a reasonable price for a highly competitive deck. I think like if the gap is like for the most. Aggro decks are always cheaper, or at least are often cheaper. So like for super sort of budget friendly aggro deck is like $100, and then like super valuable like crazy control deck is like $300 because control decks always have all like the crazy legendaries and whatever cards. So I think like 100, like 100-ish on the low end and like 300-ish on the high end, I think is like the sweet spot.
Okay. So Destiny, Double Blank's Destiny J would have said something completely different. College J would say something completely different than settled down J that has the money to spend on stuff like this. Destiny J would have said every card should be $1, or just send me the cards and I'll play.
I remember that. I remember those days.
I think we've all been there.
I remember that, Jay.
I literally didn't have that much Destiny stuff because I
know that's why you play TTS every day.
I know. I think like I don't know, $300 seems like a good solid, like 300, 350 seems like a good solid, like the best deck in the game costs that much kind of thing. I know that's really expensive, but it
inflation
also makes
what's $1 worth these days?
I know, right? I would also say I think you're right that when cards cost more, it makes people more interested in the game, even if like maybe not people that can't afford it, but people are more interested in a game that it seems like it's doing well and people enjoy it and think it's a good game.
Yeah, I think is like there are ways to make a game accessible without getting into the like hyper competitive side of the game. I think also if there's like a path for skilled players to acquire the cards that they need to make a really competitive deck without having to pay for them. Like I'm thinking of like back when I was in college and played Magic the Gathering a lot, like there were players that were good enough. They didn't have that much money, but they were good enough to like win draft like every Friday basically, or like win packs every week. And eventually they'd grind their way to whatever decks that they wanted because they'd just like either sell their good stuff or open it themselves. And even if it's just one deck, that's kind of enough for a lot of those players. So yeah,
it's weird too. So like in Flesh and Blood, the legendaries are pretty much you have to have them or you're not going to be competitive, which I probably don't like that. I don't like that if you don't have the one equipment that is good for your class, you're never going to be able to compete. Like even if you're good, you're probably not going to be able to compete. I think the equipment in that game is too critical for you to play. Whereas in Destiny, I could have not had 2 ancient lightsabers and still won games.
Oh, totally.
Right? So,
yeah. All right, what about you, David? $20? I'm just kidding.
No. So the number I'm landing on is $120.
Okay.
And the reason being, typically you could buy a booster box and a starter deck or two for around that. I mean, every game's different, so who knows? And with inflation, I don't know, but it feels like historically that's like the decision point of like, okay, do I want to get the starter deck and a booster box, or could I just say, oh, screw it, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to spend $120 on a full deck from the set, ready to grind. So that's probably where I would land. 120. I'm the cheap guy of the group, I guess.
I think it's a reasonable take. Like, if like you basically think like if you open up a booster box, you should either have enough cards that you can trade to acquire the deck that you want, or enough cards to build the deck that you want. I think that's fairly reasonable.
Yeah,
Flesh and Blood is.
Oh yeah, you could never do that in Fab.
I can buy a case and I still gotta buy stuff. Like I buy a case every time a new set comes out, and I still have to buy stuff.
Yeah, that's insane. We kind of got. I mentioned this with the Gen Con thing of like I actually care more about like what can I win that I can sell, not like what cards can I buy that I can sell. So that's where like the whole joke of the the top 8 Star Wars, or it's the top 16 Destiny World Championships medal, because I remember getting to the top 16 and my first thought was, oh, what do I win that I can sell to pay for this trip that I went on so that my wife is still in favor of me leaving. And I got freaking power action tokens that I tried to sell and couldn't sell them. I did just sell the top 8 mall playmat for like $200 like 6 months ago.
When? 6 months ago, and it was still worth that much?
Yeah.
Dang, that's pretty sick. I really wanted that mall mat. That mall mat looked sick. I think I was 33 or 34.
Yeah, you're like right not there to get it.
Yeah. It was was rough.
Well, do you get because the mall specifically said top 8 in the corner on it? The one.
Oh, okay. I was out of whatever the top 32 prize was, or getting into the top cut in general.
Yeah, that's what I think. I don't know. It was like, okay, there's literally only 8 of these out there.
Yeah, that is cool.
There you go. So that's that's in my mind. You should have
told me before you sold it to someone else.
Okay. It's like, let me look through I've got some power action tokens actually. But
no, I don't want those.
I do want to touch on what you said. You don't want the collectability or the cost to be associated with the cards themselves, but you want to win stuff that's worth money. But if people aren't spending that much money for the game already, like doesn't it already decrease the value of prizes that you might win from tournaments? Don't you need to have that high cost?
There needs to be a audience of collectors who are willing to spend a lot of money on stuff for that game.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. I think Destiny was kind of in that zone for a couple minutes, you know.
Yeah, when they started doing like spot gloss cards and stuff like
Yeah.
that, they started to dip their toes into that realm, and there were players who were willing to spend money on those cards. Bless you.
Yeah.
I
So
do think the spot glasses is like one of the few things they did right.
Mm-hmm.
Like those were actually cool.
Yeah,
Like,
and you
people
could
would want
only win those, which was interesting. Like you could only win those at GQs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I so that's like I care. This is I don't know how to say this. Like I want to be able to be competitive and go to these big tournaments because it's about the social side, and like I want to be able to compete. I don't want to be miserable, but I also, you know, if I don't win the entire thing, like I'm still going to be content with what happened. So maybe that colors how I think about how much money I'm willing to pay on a deck, because I don't have any illusions of being the world champion of Lorcana or SWU, Galaxy Shuffle, you know. So I don't know. Maybe I'm a filthy casual.
You're not a collector.
I'm not a collector.
Yeah, maybe that's the difference. But I mean, like $120 on a deck seems fairly reasonable. So I don't think I can fault you too much for that.
Now, if you ask my wife's opinion on this question, I'm
$5.
sure it'd be far less. Yeah, like it's free. Why are you paying money for cards? This, you know, you own stuff already.
It's just cardboard, David.
Now. You have a printer now, dude.
Yeah, I do. I own a printer. That's the news.
Just print it.
Easy.
All right, we're getting late. We should probably call it. Any final thoughts?
No. I have no thoughts in my brain whatsoever anymore.
Right.
We didn't really talk about design of legendaries very much, but I think we covered pretty much everything pretty well. So
yeah,
I could talk for hours about this.
Yeah, everybody stopped listening 30 minutes ago. So
exactly. When Jim left, everyone got off. They're like,
"Hey, if you are still listening to this, let us know what you think the ideal cost of a deck is for a competitive TCG." I'm super curious to get a wide range of answers.
It's good. It's good. All right, that'll do it for us on Unplayable. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.